Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access on this glorious Sunday, March the 8th, right on the eve of the legal tampering period for NFL free agency. We've got a lot to dive into, and I'm going to be fully transparent here. Your boy laid down last night, and we got a touch of vertigo or something. The room's been spinning for the last 12 hours. Little bit of nausea kicking in. We took some medicine. We'll see if we can muscle through this. We're operating at about, I'd say about 60% here. We were doubtful for today. And as we got closer to kickoff, we said, you know what, let's give it a go. So this may be the worst show in PTA history, but if this is your first time tuning into Packers Total Access, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We are not experts. We are not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you look for that type of content, hit that like button for us, hit subscribe, click the bell icon as well. We would greatly appreciate it. We're going to try to pace ourselves here. You could probably already tell the pace is going to be a little slower than it usually is. I don't know, anybody in the chat ever had vertigo? That's what all these symptoms are pointing to here. This is a strange feeling, man. I haven't felt like this since since I was in my early 20s, and we were on the old devil's lettuce, if you know what I mean. So this is a very, very interesting feel here. But we are live on X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, somewhere. We still don't know where that's being broadcast. I link it every time. I think it's hilarious. We don't know where that's at. But on tap today, guys, what we're going to do is hit on Quay's replacement, right? You bring in Xavier Franklin, and I'm excited about the move. I think it was a good contingency plan. If Quay did not sign with the Packers, if he got upset with the low ball offer, it seems like he thinks his value is significantly higher than Goody thinks. So you can't blame him there, right? I do agree with Goody in this sense, though, that you can't go out there and pay Quay Walker $10 or $15 million. You just can't do it. So you get Xavier Franklin in here for $6 million against the cap. There's no guarantee, to the best of my knowledge. You guys let me know in the chat if I got that wrong. But you can cut bait at any moment. So we're going to kind of talk about what Xavier Franklin brings to the table, as well as what other linebacker free agents are available out there, because I'm not convinced that Goody's done yet at stackbacker. We'll see. I'm excited about the move. I think it's a slight upgrade over Quay. And listen, if you get to peak Xavier Franklin mode, you're going to have a huge improvement over Quay. Quay never played anywhere near the level that Xavier Franklin did at his best. The question is, can we get back to Xavier Franklin's best, right? So we'll hit on that a little bit. We're going to talk about the edge market because, you had the funny thing happen there with Rashawn Gary's Instagram supposedly being hacked. And obviously, it looks like he's on his way out. I think we would all agree in that regard. The question is, if he doesn't stay, who do you replace him with? Are you okay with LVM? We'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also try to hit on the center market. We'll talk about kicker. Are you willing? What would you be willing to trade for arguably the best kicker in the NFL? If we have time to get into these topics, I'd like to touch on them. We may have to delay them to a little later today if the vertigo kicks in here. And then, of course, Devonte Wyatt's price tag, I feel like it raised with the extension of Jordan Davis. We'll dive into all those details. But before we get into everything, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me here real quick, hit the like button, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. That way you catch all the live streams here moving forward. Also, you can check us out wherever you get your podcast. Just search Packers Total Access as well. So, Chad Inc. in the chat says, vertigo's awful. You feel like you're walking on a ledge that isn't big enough. Man, what got me was laying down last night, Chad. That was really interesting. It was like the room wasn't physically spinning, but my body was telling me it was spinning. And then, you go to sleep, you wake up thinking, okay, it'll be over. Nope, it's back. So hopefully this stuff clears up here real soon. And again, man, hopefully the show doesn't suck too bad. I'm going to try to just go through the information. I'm going to pace myself because you can probably already tell I'm stuttering a little bit. It's a very strange feeling. Tanner in the chat says, Clayton, I've been wanting to ask you live. When I watch D'Angelo Pons, I see a mini Jair. I know you aren't a fan of comps, but that is who I see immediately watching him. I think that's a fair comp, Tanner, especially young Jair. Young Jair, he was, to me, Jair always looked thick, right? He always looked like his arms were kind of thick. His shoulders were broad. He was a smaller corner, but not near as small as D'Angelo Pons. And Jair was aggressive early on, man. He would tackle. He would hit. And when he hurt the shoulder, you could tell he kind of took a step back like, oh, crap. And my guess is he got a little coaching from that, too, that coaches were probably saying, hey, look, you don't have to stick your nose in there all the time like that. And then, of course, the pendulum swings in the opposite direction where we felt like Jair was kind of shying away from contact at times. So I see a little D'Angelo Pons there. I think that's a fair comp, Tanner. And it's not that I hate comps, Tanner. I just the reason I shy away from them is me being the not having the mental capacity to be able to separate the two. If I focus too much on a comp player, it sways my opinion on that player that I'm evaluating at the time, if that makes sense. So I try to be careful with that. I try to try to gauge myself in that regard of not getting too caught up on the comps. So, all right, let's jump into the first topic. Let's see if we can get through one topic. Let's set the bar low today. All right, and I appreciate everybody jumping in here on this Sunday morning. If y'all would smash that like button, grab you a cup of coffee, and jump on in here. Let's talk ball. So we're going to go kind of around the league with some of the updates and how it affects the Green Bay Packers. The first topic here we're going to start with is obviously the big trade that the Packers had here with Zaire Franklin. Okay, so you end up trading Quay Walker straight up for Zaire Franklin. Now, listen, this has a trickle-down effect. This has a cascading effect, right? You trade Quay Walker, now you've got a little bit of a hole there at the nose tackle position. Unless you think Nazir Stackhouse is a solid nose tackle. I'm not there. I think what I seen out of Nazir Stackhouse last year, I think you've seen an average to below average nose tackle. Guys, he was an undrafted free agent. That's not to knock him. He's going to get better. Maybe he'll be, at that average to above average level this year. That would be awesome. I kind of feel like that's where Quay Walker was above average nose tackle. His run stops were what were impressive, man. He was really effective, stopping the run. He was, 34, 35 run stops, I believe he had. I think that ranked 31st in the league, which tells you that, hey, this is a legit starting number one defensive tackle. Now, I like to separate the two, right, between three tech and nose tackle, shade. So he's definitely a nose tackle, or at least that's what he played last year, he being Quay Walker. So you still got Devonte Wyatt, and he's projecting to be healthy for week one. We're hoping everything checks out there. I believe he'll be ready to go. There's no reason to think he won't be. I'm not completely sold on Devonte Wyatt being, hey, this is a dominant three tech. I think he's got some strengths. I think he's a good pass rusher. He's not a not so good run defender. At least he hasn't shown up to this point. But when you look at the nose tackle position, you've still got Carl Brooks on the roster. He played nose in the 34 base for Joe Barry, if you'll remember. And his first year in the league, he looked way better. Carl Brooks looked way better, in my opinion, in a 34 defense than he did in the 4-3. But you guys know you're splitting hairs there with that. You're in your nickel defense, 70% of the time. There is no difference between a nickel defense in a 34 and a nickel defense in a 4-3 roster build. There's no difference. No one can convince me otherwise, man. If it's one back, it's one gap in your nickel look there. Okay. If it's two backs, most of the time it'll equal two gaps. Now, if you play a lot of shell coverage, pre-snap, two safeties on the shelf, then you've got a two gap up front, whether you're in a 4-3 or not. So anytime we show a shell look, a good portion of that time, you were already playing two gaps. So I think people, I don't want to be mean, I don't want to be rude, but I think most people just kind of recycle what they hear. You know what I mean? It's just like most opinions on social media. And if we get to the edge defensive position here in a minute, I'll paint a good picture of that. People hear other podcasters, they hear other fans that maybe have a huge following say something, and now they just parrot that. They parrot that rather than going and actually diving in and trying to understand, all right, what's actually happening here. That's why you had some of the people in the media get mad, the sports media in Green Bay get mad when Matt LaFleur called them out, when they said, do you think your run defense is struggling because you've only got two down linemen? And Matt just grinned and said, you do know you're exposing yourself, right? Like, just because they're listed as outside linebackers in our 34 defense doesn't mean they're linebackers. They're actually edge defenders. We're playing with four defensive linemen. And then the sports media try to paint it back and say, well, no, we know that's not how it is, and that's not that's what you said. So Matt LaFleur says people expose themselves. That's what he's talking about, right? Is you're just parroting, you're repeating stuff that you've heard. And again, man, I try to do my own research, but I also try to check my ego, and I try to study people who have played the game, coached the game, studied the game, way more than I have. I'm 40. I'm going to be 44 this year, right? So I've had a long time to study the game, and any information I have on football, it's because I've spent way too much time watching football and trying to study it. That's the only reason. I'm not special or more intelligent than anyone else. It's just the way I try to study the game, and you do that because you've got people who have already been studying the game, who have already played the game and coached the game. So you got to learn to zip it, shut your mouth, hear what they got to say. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but at least hear them out, right? So anyway, so who are the best linebackers available here? According to NFL IQ over at NFL.com, Devin Lloyd is the 7th best free agent. Caden Ellis is number 32. Leo Chenal is number 37. Nakobe Dean is 40. Quay Walker is 41. Okay, so NFL.com and NFL IQ over on NFL.com, I should say, have 4 linebackers ranked ahead of Quay Walker. Then they've got Justin Sternad, if I'm saying that right, Demario Davis, Devin Bush, Quincy Williams, and Eric Wilson. Bobby Wagner's on down the list. He did not make Greg Rosenthal's top 101. And then you got Bobby Okereke. Now, a few names here that I like, that I think it's worth going and getting if the market value, if the price doesn't get too expensive here. And you're probably going, Clayton, we got Zaire Franklin. We re-signed Nick Nyman as well. Like we're good at stack backer. You don't have your stack backer of the future in-house unless you think Tyron Hopper is going to take a big step and just take over for Zaire next year, and you just give him an extension, right? So I think it's okay to still look for a bargain bin deal here. Leo Chenal is the one that I keep coming back to, guys. And people will say he's more of a Sam. If he's a Sam, then why was he mugging the A-gap last year? Like, this whole Sam talk is another example of what we just talked about, people just repeating what they're hearing, right? I always say this, and I don't mean to be an ass, but it's not 1998 anymore, gang. Like, the Sam backer is not the same Sam backer a Sam backer to me is in name only now in today's NFL, because you're playing nickel 70% of the time. Your Sam's going to come off the field. It's going to be a mock and a wheel. Well, guess what? That mock is now your Sam backer. Well, what's your mock responsible for doing? Your mock's typically a gap destroyer, sideline to sideline type presence, and he's got to be able to cover a tight end vertically in your nickel set. That's typically what it is. Your mock will play on the strong side of the formation. Now, there's differences in defenses, and it's very interchangeable in that regard. If you're playing match coverage, everything changes, right? If you're playing a Tampa 2 look, and here's the other thing, like sometimes we'll call out a Tampa 2 on Chalk Talk, and we don't truly know if it's Tampa 2. And we'll tell you that, like, hey, look, there's a chance this could have been a cover 2 match look, but typically if a linebacker covers deep third down the middle, that's a Tampa 2. Well, he's just matching the 2 or the 3 if they go vert. Well, if they don't go vert, he doesn't match. A true Tampa 2 spot drop is when that guy will just take off and he'll cover the seam hell or high water. But in most cases in modern NFL defense, that's not the case. So is it truly a Tampa 2, or is it a cover 2 match, cover 2 sink? What is it? Is it a cover 3 match, and the safety that was supposed to be the deep third matched the 2 on the opposite side of the backer that covered the seam? Now that you could kind of make a case that's a quarters match, right? It's very similar, but at the same time, there are differences that kind of, unless we're in the meeting room, we don't truly know, right? So let's go to PFF and see what they think are the best stack backers available. You got Devin Lloyd. They got him ranked 4th. They've actually got Devin Bush ranked 9th, so significantly different than Greg Rosenthal's. Nakobe Dean, 12th. Leo Chenal, 13th. Again, Leo Chenal is the one that checks the box for me, man. I would love to see them get him for the right price. Bobby Wagner, 51st. See, I agree with the PFF rankings a little bit more than I do Greg Rosenthal. I would much rather have Bobby Wagner over Quay Walker or, any of these guys. I mean, the fact that he's got Bobby Wagner below Demario Davis blows my mind. Even, Devin Bush, a solid football player. I think he should be ranked ahead of Bobby Wagner. But yeah, I just can't get on. I can't get on on the same page there, thinking that Bobby Wagner should be ranked below a Quincy Williams, a Demario Davis, a Sternad, or however you say the name, right? So I would definitely have Leo Chenal and Bobby Wagner on my list. Devin Lloyd's going to be too expensive, right? I don't think it makes sense because you're going to want to pay Edgerrin Cooper. If you pay Devin Lloyd right now anything that's going to carry into 3 years of a contract, you're now convoluting your roster build, your roster model projection for getting Edgerrin Cooper the contract that I think all Packer fans agree he deserves if he continues to play at the level he plays at, right? If you can get Devin Lloyd, on a sweetheart deal, I would love that, would absolutely love that. I just don't think there's any chance of that happening. So I'd be okay with Bobby Wagner. I'd be okay with Leo Chenal. There's a couple other guys here I thought I had as well. Demario Davis, I'm okay with too, right? For the right price. But it's like we got Demario Davis at home. You just got Zaire Franklin. Well, you know what? Who's to say that he's going to be great, right? Who's to say that Zaire Franklin doesn't continue to decline, if that makes sense? So you got to keep an eye on that stuff as well. But again, I think there's options out there for the right price. Now, if let's say the market blimps and all of these guys end up getting overpaid, right? And it's like, let's say Devin Lloyd gets $18 million per. I'm not saying he is. Let's just say that his is overinflated. He gets $18 million per. Let's say Devin Bush somehow goes up to $16 million, right? Kobe Dean gets somewhere in the $15 million range. And that pushes Leo Chenal's value up to $12 million as opposed to like a 6 or a 7 that some are projecting at. I'm not saying you go get Leo Chenal for that money, right? I'm saying if it's under 8, you got to entertain that. If Bobby Wagner's value holds back because he's 35 years old, going to be 36 here this coming football season, if his value holds back to about the 5 or the 6 million mark, heck yeah, man, bring in Bobby Wagner. And you know what? Whoever's better out of him and Zaire Franklin, you're going to have a total amount of money of $11 million tied up in 2 veteran linebackers that both have mock experience, both have played it at a high level, Pro Bowl caliber level, Super Bowl champion level in Bobby Wagner's case. I think he was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year back in his prime as well. Well, you tied up $11 million in 2 players that are now going to compete at that starting mock spot. Do you feel really good about that as opposed to giving Quay Walker $11 million and we kind of get the same thing that we've had all along? So that's kind of how I see the stack backer position, right? So, yeah. And again, I'm not saying you should go out there and break the bank. I think we should give Zaire Franklin a fair shake, just like we should give Tyron Hopper a fair shake, just like we should give Isaiah McDuffie a fair shake. Nick Nyman, I don't think he's at that level. He's more of a special teams player, but go out and get another one. And you may have to do that in the draft, right? And we got a handful of linebackers we like in the draft. And just to name a few here that are going to be in our range, right, that might fall to us. I think CJ Allen will be gone, but Jake Golday, is there a chance that he falls to us at 52? Anthony Hill Jr., we got him ranked 61st. If he falls at 52, if he's sitting there at 52, do you pull the trigger there? I wouldn't hate it because, again, you need a stack backer of the future. I'm not saying it's a top need. I'm just saying if Goody's board has a stack backer significantly higher than a D tackle and some of these other needs, cornerback, right, I won't be surprised if he pulls the trigger on it. Jacob Rodriguez, we originally had him in the 65 spot. He is soaring up our board now. I need to update my cheat sheet. These are just a handful of names. Maybe you wait till a little later, 84, and you go with a Lawson or a Josiah Trotter or a Torin York, somebody like that. That could be on the table. I'm excited though, man. I think that the trade, it's obvious Goody didn't think Kobe Wooden was the nose tackle of the future. I completely agree, by the way. That's why we've been so in on defensive tackle this offseason. But at the same time, I just want to point out Kobe Wooden was not a bad football player. I think he was above average nose tackle is kind of how I see him. So I'm curious to know what you guys think at the stack backer position. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about this approach? Do you think we just roll the dice and move forward with everything we got at stack backer? Do you think they should go out and try to get Leo Chenal or even a Bobby Wagner, someone who's a little more aging, a Demario Davis? How would you approach buttoning up this stack backer room for the Green Bay Packers? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. Click the bell icon. We greatly, greatly appreciate that. All right, so let's take a quick gander at the chat. If anybody's having a conversation in here about the stack backer, looks like Packer fan 1418 agrees. Leo Chenal would be solid. I think for the right price, right? If you can get him for 6 or 7 million, why not, man? I feel like he's immediately your third best linebacker immediately. He's possibly the only thing that would make you hesitant is if he beats out Zaire Franklin as one of your top 2 linebackers and he ends up starting over him in the nickel defense. I don't care, man. It's all about competition. I'm done with the whole, this is our guy, moving forward with him. We did it with Darnell Savage when we could tell it wasn't a good move. There's a lot of players you can go back in the history of the Packers and Kevin King, they gave him every opportunity, right, to be that guy, and it just never happened. There's a multitude of guys. Eric Stokes, same thing, right? Yeah, you continue to start him, and it was just like, man, this ain't working out, at least in the defense we're running at the time. So I think it would be just fine to take a shot on Leo Chenal there, right? And who knows, maybe he can contribute on special teams a little bit too. Lord knows we need some of that. So let's see here. 2-0 for this says having Bobby on the defense would be awesome. Heck with young guys. That's the thing too. And 2-0 for this. We talked about this, right? I've kind of been dubbed as the podcaster, I think, that talks about this the most is, I'm just going to continue to point out when we make stupid mistakes in big games and we can't win the big one. And you get these guys on podcasts that go on drunken rants and everything, talking about this, when you do that, and that. And then they sober up and they're like, well, we got to stay young. No, we don't. Like, I'm not saying you should be even in the top 10 of the oldest teams in the league, right? I'm just tired of being the youngest team in the league, man. Get me in that bottom. Get me at 25th, right? And you probably think, well, you're splitting hairs here, Clay. Yeah, you're splitting hairs in the playoffs when you're getting your butt kicked, giving up 25 points in the fourth quarter, too. It matters. It matters. I love asking people this question. Whatever profession you're in right now, you got a deadline you got to hit. Whether it's a blue-collar job or an office job, you got a deadline you got to hit, man. It's your ass is on the chopping block if this task does not get done right now, right? And they're going to say, hey, pick 3 employees to get this done, right? I guarantee you the first thing you think in your mind is, who's been here before? Who can get it done the quickest? Who knows the shortcuts? Who knows how to operate this? Who's my guy? That's how you think. You don't think, give me the youngest, most inexperienced guy. You just don't. You don't. And youth is important. Don't get me wrong. When you hit on an Edgerrin Cooper, boy, it feels good. When you hit on an Evan Williams, boy, it feels good, right? The problem is you miss on about 70% of those and you only hit on 30%. Well, guess what? 30% of your roster is good. 70% is meh. And the entire roster is inexperienced. Why not reduce some of that meh and replace it with, these guys have been in the trenches. They've done it before, right? It's just, I don't know, man. That's just how my peanut brain operates, Again, I don't want us to be the oldest team in the league. I'm just tired of being the youngest. That's it. And you hear, as soon as they traded for Zaire Franklin, those people that complain about that stuff, they were trying to run victory laps on social media. It was just like, you guys are so annoying, man. You think you're such a gatekeeper of the Packer fan base. And if you just looked at the comments occasionally, you would see people don't see you in the same light. You got a low social IQ is what you got. And I'll just leave it at that. And if you're wondering what social IQ is, it's essentially common sense. It's people's inability to understand how other people see them. You know what I'm talking about. These guys, they walk in the room at a party, boy, and they're the loudest one in the room, and they think they're the life of the party. And whoo, boy, and everybody's kind of going, this is embarrassing. Let me get out. Let me get away from this dude before I melt on my shoes, right? So anyway, let's move on to the edge defender room. Now, here, listen, this is going to be really, really interesting because edge is not a top need. I don't even see it as a need, guys. However, if Rashawn Gary does leave, and I think we'd all agree he's got 1 foot out the door, then if that's the case, you're going to have a little bit of a void to fill there. As much as a portion of the fan base likes to rake Gary over the coals, the reality is he's been your best edge defender, run defender before Micah got here. He was your best run defender. He was your best pass rusher. It's not even close. He leads in all those statistical categories every single year, right? And I think that, does Gary got more gas in the tank? The second half of the season would suggest might be tapering off. This is probably the best time to move on. So I'm not saying you should keep Gary. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm simply saying this idea that when you lose Gary, the team gets better is just false. A lot of people are toting this, that Kingsley Enagbare is better than Gary. I would love to know how you come up with that. Well, use your eyes. That's usually the thing, right? Use your eyes. I mean, every statistical category, Gary was. Let me do this real quickly. I'm going to come back. I put this tweet out and I screenshotted it before anybody responded. Right? I said, which defensive lineman would you rather have? All right, and I'm giving it away now. I love doing this because it forces people to make a decision, and we know who you would choose unless you're trying to figure out, well, he's tricking me here. I'm going to go with player 2, so I feel like I'm right in all of my complaints in the past. Quarterback pressure percentage, 11.9%. I always use false numbers, but I get them close enough where people can't figure out who it is too, by the way. I love doing that. Quarterback pressure percentage, 11.9%. This is player 1. Sack rate, 1.9%. Run stop rate, 15.4%, right? Player 2, 10.5%. So 1.4% less quarterback pressure percentage. Sack rate, 0.9%. So that's literally 1% less sack rate than player 1. And run stop rate, 12.7%. That's roughly 2.5 to 3% less run stop rate. Player 2 was significantly worse at getting pressure on the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, and stopping the run than player 1. You probably guessed it. Player 1's Rashawn Gary, player 2's Kingsley Enagbare. How in the world are people thinking that Kingsley Enagbare is a better football player than Rashawn Gary? I don't understand it. Like, what is it that's convinced you of that? And these are all NFL Pro Next Gen Stats data. This is not PFF. I don't lean on PFF like other people, and they just run the numbers and say, oh, this is the gospel. I love NFL Pro because every single one of these pressures that I've got tabbed, every single one of these sacks that I got tabbed, every single one of these run stops that I got tabbed, I can actually click on the number and watch the tape, and you see the evidence for yourself. There's all the run stops. Not just trust me, bro, over here with the PFF premium stats. Right? And I love PFF. I use it every episode. You'll see it throughout this episode. But I want tape tagged to the plays to go, here's how we came up with these numbers. That's the reality of Rashawn Gary versus Kingsley Enagbare. So if it's trust your eyes, bro, no, maybe that person just has a little bit of a bias and they don't like Rashawn Gary. Now, Rashawn Gary at $28 million, no, thank you. Those numbers right there, 11.9%, 1.9% sack rate, and 15.4% run stop rate are not worth $28 million against the cap. $15 million? Sure. Yeah. The problem is Gary's not going to take a huge pay cut. I think that's why he posted that, or his hacker posted that heartfelt message to the Packers fan base. So again, just want to point that out, that you've got to fill that void, guys. Who's going to fill that void? I think LVN can fill that void. And we're going to get to that in a second. But let's talk about what just recently happened. One of the names that kept getting mentioned was Khalil Mack. I actually did this comparison, this anonymous comparison amongst Rashawn Gary and Khalil Mack last year. Rashawn Gary's numbers were better than Khalil Mack's. People picked Rashawn Gary over Khalil Mack because they didn't know who the players were. And everybody was all amped up about getting Khalil Mack. I would love to sign Khalil Mack in free agency. That would be awesome, right? For the right price. But he just got signed by the Chargers, right? It's a one-year deal, $18 million. I was not willing to give Khalil Mack $18 million. Not going to do it. I would rather move forward with LVN, Baron Sorrell, Colin Oliver, those guys, possibly Brenton Cox Jr. if you get him back. We got to get an update on his situation as well and see if he's testing the market or being tenured or what. But with all that being said, Khalil Mack's now off the market. So who are the top free agent pass rushers available now? Ari Miroff put a tweet out, top free agent pass rushers with Khalil Mack off the market. Trey Hendrickson, 1, Jalen Phillips, 2, Odafe Owe, 3, Kwity Paye, 4, Boye Mafe. Maybe he's not doing them in any particular order. Clavon Chason, if I'm saying that right, Kingsley Enagbare, Joseph Asaya, Joey Bosa, Von Miller, Cam Jordan, Hassan Reddick, Malcolm Kuntz, Draymond Jones, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Kyle Van Noy, AJ Epinesa, Arden Key, Leonard Floyd, Jadeveon Clowney, Arnold Ebikadi. Hey, we got it. I think we got that. I've heard that name before. Sam Williams, Michael Clemens, Derek Barnett, and David Ajabo. So when you look at this list, who would you like to replace Gary with if at all possible? Trey Hendrickson, it's a no-brainer. I would love that. Problem is he's probably going to get $25 million per. We don't have that kind of cap space. We've got that tied up in our boy Micah Parsons, which is another thing why it's not a top priority for edge defender. Just kind of walking through these, though. Jalen Phillips, I would be okay with for the right price. The other one that sticks out to me, listen, I would like to have Kingsley Enagbare back for the right price. But if he's going to go out there and get $8 or $10 million per, I just ran the numbers. It's not worth that. It's not worth that for me. If you could get him for $4 or $5 million, I would love Kingsley back, right? I think he's a good football player. I do. Well, I think he's an above average football player who's got upside for good. If you guys watched our live draft coverage the year he was drafted, I was all over. I was on him for 3 straight rounds. He was the highest guy on my board. I had the old grease board back here at the time. It was a lot of fun, and actually had them wrote down by hand, kind of like Brian Baldinger did the other day. I respect the old heads. And Kingsley Navarre would have been the best pick for 2 straight rounds, and then they finally took him wherever they took him in the 5th or 6th round. I'm a big Kingsley fan. I'm just not going to sit here and try to paint this picture that he's better than Rashawn Gary, because it's simply not the case. Now, if you want to couple up, well, actually in this 4-game saturation, he was okay. Now you're fudging the numbers and bending the data to try to convince everybody that you're correct, when the overall work there in 2025 simply says otherwise. So, couple other names on here like Joey Bosa, I'm not really that interested in, to be honest with you. Von Miller's interesting if you bring in a veteran like that to play alongside someone like Micah Parsons for the right price, of course. Cam Jordan is interesting because he's very versatile. He can play 3-tech. He can play 5-tech. I don't see him as a wide 9, although I'm sure he's lined up there at some point. He is definitely more of a 5-4 to a 3-tech. He's not really a nose, although he can play shade if you need him to. He's a guy that you see as more of a 3-tech, a 4-eye to a 5-tech guy, in my opinion. If I had to stamp him as one, I'd say 3-tech. He's a 3-tech. Right. So I kind of remove him from this list. No disrespect to Ari. I love Ari. Ari does a hell of a job too. So that's just a look at the guys that are available. All right. So let's take a quick glance. We already talked about the Gary stuff. Let's go to PFF. Here's how they have them ranked. They have Trey Hendrickson as the top available free agent as we sit here right now on March the 8th. Again, he's going to break the bank. He's 31 years old. There's a chance he ends up in Chicago. I hope that doesn't happen. We'll see. Time will tell. But Trey Hendrickson is one that I would love to have. It's just going to be priced out of our range with how our roster is modeled at the moment. Odafe Oweh, they actually have him in the number 8 spot. They've got Jalen Phillips at 15. They've got Boye Mafe at 23, and then Joey Bosa at 28. So those are some of the guys that are most likely going to get a pretty decent bag. When you look at those, Jalen Phillips is probably the most interesting. Let's see what it says about it. It says injuries have plagued Phillips' career. Never mind. Scratch him off the list. But he looked closer to his best after arriving in Philadelphia ahead of the trade deadline. From week 10 on, he earned a 70.2 PFF pass rush grade and generated 44 total pressures. So not bad there, right? Odafe Oweh, let's make a case for him real quick. A midseason trade from the Baltimore Ravens to the Chargers sparked a career high for Oweh at an ideal time as he heads towards free agency. He recorded 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in the Chargers' playoff loss to the New England Patriots and ranked 11th among edge defenders of PFF pass rush win rate at 16.5% after arriving in Los Angeles. So that's one that's really intriguing, right? Played some of his best football down the stretch. We'll see where he ends up. Joey Bosa, haven't heard much from him in a while. It says Bosa steered mostly clear of injuries for the first time in a long time in 25, and he looked more like himself as a result. His 54 quarterback pressures were his most since 2021, and he generated the 19th best PFF WAR. I think that's win against replacement, I believe is what that stat is, of a 0.18 mark among edge defenders. So it sounds like Joey Bosa proved that he was healthy. Would you guys be okay with Joey Bosa coming in and playing opposite, right? These are all the things that we've got to kind of troubleshoot if Gary leaves. Now, here's the way I think that Goody will go, and I think they should go. You got Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver, which I think we would all agree we're excited about those guys, right? I think that they've shown enough that it's like, okay, you've got some talent there. Maybe you get Brenton Cox Jr. back as well. That would be awesome. But Lucas Van Ness, man, quarterback pressure percentage. You see Brenton Cox Jr. here. He only played 76 snaps. He only had 42 pass rushes, but his was a 14.3 quarterback pressure percentage. So really good, but very limited snaps. You almost got to throw that out right now. And you guys know we love Brenton Cox Jr. on this particular program. Rashawn Gary, 12.1%, third place amongst your edge defenders. Notice it does not include Micah Parsons. He's listed as a stack backer for whatever reason. Well, we know why, because he lined up all over the place. He'd rush the A-gap. He would mug. He'd play joker. Then he'd pop down to a 3-tech and play a little interior defensive tackle, and then you'd have him back outside with a wide 9, whatnot. But he's not listed on here. We know he's the best, all right? So let's just acknowledge that for a second. But Rashawn Gary, 12.1% quarterback pressure percentage. And this is what I was talking about, guys. Those quarterback pressures, that 47 right there, if you go to NFL Pro, you can click on that. It'll show you all 47 of his quarterback pressures. That's something you don't get at PFF, right? And that's why I like to cross-check the two. Lucas Van Ness, 11.2%. Guys, that's solid. That is solid. He ended up having 16 pressures, only 1.5 sacks, right? But the big thing that stood out to me about Lucas Van Ness's tape, and you could see it every single week, is the run defense was significantly better when LVN was on the field. So I think what you get in LVN opposite of Micah Parsons is you get he's cut from the Rashawn Gary cloth, to be honest with you. Rashawn Gary has always been a better run defender than a pass rusher. So you get a solid run defending edge setter opposite of Micah Parsons, and he can play both sides as well, right? You can also kick LV into 3-tech when you want to go to your cheetah packages, right? Now, that's probably going to be out the door. What's going to happen is you're going to hear another term for maybe you hear NASCAR package come back. It's essentially they put a ton of pass rushers in and pull some of the big boys off the field in the middle is what all that means. Jeff Hafley called it the cheetah package, right? We'll still refer to Joker and Joker 1 because I'm sure whatever Jonathan Gannon decides to do schematically, he will still continue to use Micah Parsons' superpower of moving him around, lining him up in the A-gap and playing some of that Joker look, right? So, again, LVN, 11.2%, though, solid. His run stop rate, guys, 15.3%. Not bad, right? Let's compare that real quick, that tweet I put out. His 15.3% run stop rate is only 0.1% behind Rashawn Gary. So he is just as effective of a run stopper as Rashawn Gary is. And to me, that's really, really exciting, man. That tells me that, okay, he's kind of cut from that same cloth. He can pick up where Gary's going to leave off. This is how I feel better about going this route than spending money and draft allocation, draft picks, I should say, to try to shore up the edge defender room in that regard. Use that on defensive tackle. You're seeing now defensive tackle is kind of, to me, it is up there with cornerback and center, and they're like all kind of neck and neck there, right, in terms of needs. But again, significantly better than Kingsley Enagbare. Kingsley Enagbare only 12.7% run stop rate. So LVN, a better run defender. Quarterback pressure percentage. LVN at that 11 point, whatever it is, where's it at? 11.2%, right? Gary's was actually 12.2. I said 11.9, so it would steer people off of who I was talking about there in this comp. But the 11.9%, obviously, let's just call it 12.2. He's got a little bit of ground to make up, he being LVN, right? So he's going to be less effective pass rusher according to the numbers. And look at the sack rate, 1.9%. LVN's sack rate is 1.6%. So what you're going to get is an equally effective run defender as Rashawn Gary at the edge spot. And we're hoping that he takes another step forward in his pass rush, he being LVN, to match that. So with all that being said, that's how I see the edge room. All right. I think that LVN is most likely the best case scenario. Now, let's say that one of those free agents, the market hits flat. Doubt it will. It's a tier 1 position of importance. But let's say the market smacks flat. If that happens, then you go get one of those guys that they're undervalued. Because essentially what you're going to do is you're going to throw them into the rotation. You still let LVN kind of compete for your starter, and hopefully he wins that job. But if one of those guys, let's say Joey Bosa's market's only $6 million, and you brung him in, and him and LVN are competing for that opposite edge defender from Micah Parsons. All of a sudden, rising tide raises all ships, right? They're going to make each other better. And we know how the Packers, this isn't a Jeff Hafley thing. This wasn't a Joe Barry thing. This wasn't a Dom Capers thing. This wasn't a Mike Pettin thing. This wasn't a Mike McCarthy thing. This is, and it's also, actually, it goes back to Mike McCarthy a little bit as well. But this is a Matt LaFleur thing, rotating edge defenders, right? That's something he does a lot, for sure. So, like when you look at the playtime percentage there, right, you see Rashawn Gary at 61.8%. People rake Gary over the coals for that. But, okay, if that's the case, then why was LVN's only 44.4%, right? Why didn't they balance those out a little bit more if Rashawn Gary was so bad, right? They like a heavy rotation, that heavy hockey line when it comes to the edge room and the pass rushers there for the Packers. So, yeah. So, again, I think LVN, I would be totally fine moving forward with LVN. That way you can focus on center, you can focus on defensive tackle, and everything else in between there. So if you guys are watching this video back later, I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Let's take the conversation in there. How do you feel about the edge room? How do you feel about LVN just taking over for Rashawn Gary? Let's just go ahead and cut bait, move on. And, is there a chance that Gary comes back on a cheaper deal? There's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Highly, highly unlikely, though, right? I think we would all agree. So how do you feel about that whole situation? Hit us up in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe, click the bell icon. We would greatly appreciate that. All right, let's move along here and talk another position, all right? And again, you guys can find all this over at patreon.com, how I've organized everything, and just kind of started a conversation over there. Let's talk about the center position, gang. And to me, this is really important. A little bit of me worries that Goody is just going to kind of shrug this off to the side, re-sign Sean Rhyan on a cheaper deal, and just say that's your starting center, or that he's just going to say, hey, you know what, man, we're just going to, somebody just said, check the chat. What is this? Check your chat. How about you just tell me what it is, man? Let's see what's going on here. Do we have something going on? Do we have some kind of deal? Oh, no. Look, right when I said it. Lord have mercy. We got breaking news. Let's reset for a breaking news segment. We're going to go timestamp it. This is why you tune in live, right? Some people just jumped into hour 2 on the podcast. Go, what the hell's going on right now, Clayton? We're about to tell you. It sounds like we got breaking news. I literally just said, did I not just say this, guys? Did I not just say this? I literally just said, I'm worried that Goody is just going to re-sign Sean Rhyan, and we have breaking news. It sounds like the Packers have a lot of value that they're placing in Sean Rhyan. Let's get to the breaking news, as Tom Pelissero seemed to be the first one to have it here. All right, let's get into it. Let's get it on the screen. Breaking news. The Green Bay Packers, according to Tom Pelissero, said the Packers and Sean Rhyan have agreed to a 3-year, golly, a pause for dramatic effect, 3-year, $33 million extension with a max value of $39 million, sources tell me in Rap Sheet. Rhyan becomes one of the highest paid centers after 9 career starts at the position. Deal negotiated by Agent Mirza, Cameron Foster, and Chris Cabot of Equity Sports. Ugh. All right, let's see. Listen, first of all, let me calm down here a second. I don't want to overreact. All right. I like Sean Rhyan as a player. I think Sean Rhyan is a good run blocker. His pass blocking left a lot to be desired. I think this does scream Elton Jenkins is gone, right? Let's talk about that. Did anybody have on their radar Sean Rhyan signing this huge extension? All hell's broke loose. Yeah, you got to get this is unbelievable. I'm trying to do a breaking news segment. My wife comes up here and I got the German Shepherds running loose. I'm battling nausea. Bye. Yeah, get them out of here, please. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right. Love you too. Live on stream. Unbelievable. This is the real breaking news. So let's just reset this if you guys don't mind. Let me reset this segment. We greatly appreciate the this is unbelievable. All right. We got breaking news, guys. So we're going to reset the table here for the video that we're going to edit out, as I've got a stampede of dogs and my wife whistling, trying to get them down the steps. He's not going to go with you now. He's with me now. He knows what we do up here. We hang out and we talk ball. All right, so Tom Pelissero, Packers and Sean Rhyan have agreed to a 3-year, $33 million extension with a max value of $39 million, sources tell me, and Rap Sheet. Sean Rhyan becomes one of the highest paid centers after 9 career starts at the position. Deals negotiated by Agent Mirza, Cameron Foster, and Chris Cabot of Equity Sports. So again, this is a big contract, gang. This is a big contract. I'm just going to kind of turn it over to the chat. We're just going to have a conversation about this whole thing. All right. Let's see what everybody thinks about this situation. So Turtle says, are they really sticking with Rhyan at center? Let's talk about the positives. All right. Let's hit the pros first here. Sean Rhyan, a good run blocker. What's the cons, the bad side, right? Seems to be a below average pass blocker. This to me, I hate to say it, but it feels like this is Goody saying, I don't want to give up on my draft. This was a 3rd round pick. This is Goody saying, hey, we already had the center of the future. You know what? Remember the comment a few years ago, guys? Someone made a comment. I think it was Rob Domofsky said that someone close to the team told him the center of the future is already in house. Sean Rhyan was already in house at the moment. Were they talking about Sean Rhyan the entire time? Because this is not a small contract, gang. You're talking about 3 years, $33 million, just the average AAV of $11 million, right? $11 million per on average. You're talking about $39 million on the upside, so it could end up being more than that. Notice this, though. This is what gives me some hope here, and this is why we're going to check it. Is it a 3-year deal that's really a 1-year deal? What do I mean by that? Notice the agency leaked this information out to Tom Pelissero, most likely. Notice there's no signing bonus mentioned. You notice that? So anytime a signing bonus isn't mentioned initially, they've got to comb through and try to find that information. That tells me the signing bonus is probably significantly lower, okay? So let's say his signing bonus was $8 million. I don't know what it is. It might end up being 20. Hell, it might be fully guaranteed. I think they would have mentioned that. But let's say it's $8 million. It's really a 3-year deal that's a 1-year deal for $8 million. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to kind of hold back a little bit, and you guys are going to rate me over the coals, and rightfully so. This is what I did last year with Aaron Banks when I didn't like the signing. This is what I did with Jacob included, with Anthony Belton, the 2nd-round pick, when we didn't like the draft pick. I always try to step back and go, okay, I don't know more than an NFL GM. What does he see here? What am I missing as a dumb redneck Packer fan, right? That's what I'm holding out hope for right there, is hopefully there's less guaranteed money in that regard, right? Because if there's less guaranteed money, this is essentially a 1-year deal with the club option of 2 and 3. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how I would look at it. Let's see what Packer Doug says. Turtles, I would not pay him that much to play guard, that's for sure. So they're thinking he might be playing guard. Okay, so everybody, and listen, that's an option, right? Maybe he's not the center. And here's the other thing. Maybe they're trying to build the floor for the center position. Because, again, we said we wanted Sean Rhyan back. I wanted Sean Rhyan back. I just don't understand the $33 million with a ceiling of 39. That's the thing that's got me a little thrown off here, man. That's very interesting. So I'm trying to see if anybody in the chat loves this move. If maybe I'm in the minority here, maybe we're in the minority, I should say, with the signing, because I'm not like over the moon about it. Right? Is there anybody that's over the moon about it? Adam Block said Rhyan showed his value as guard and center. There's extra value there, Adam. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. The fact that he can play 2 different positions, right? Yeah, there's extra value there. I agree with that sentiment. Let's see. 2-0 for this says if they stick Rhyan at center and stop putting him all over the place, it can work. Okay, so 2-0 for this is optimistic. Got it. That definitely doesn't help, does it? 2-0 for this. The fact that you're pushing people around like that constantly, right? So, yeah, that gives you a little bit of hope that maybe things can pan out with this Sean Rhyan move. You got somebody who can play guard and center. I'm trying to paint a picture in my mind. Like, what if they go Jake Slaughter at 52 and Jake Slaughter is your starting center, right? If that happens, and now Sean Rhyan is going to be a guard, does this mean that they're moving on from Aaron Banks? You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving parts here. I mean, there's not been an announcement with Elton Jenkins either. Is Elton Jenkins going to be here? I don't know. Maybe that news is coming later today as well. Clint C says, I hope we draft the center. I agree. I think you still got to draft the center. If they see him as the starting center, guys, take drafting a center at 52 off the table. Now you're focused. Now we're zeroing in on defensive tackle and cornerback, right? Which the Packers have met with a lot of those guys in the draft process so far. So Chris in the chat said gut booty. Goot booty. I think he was trying to say Goody. What have you been typing to autocorrect that, my man? Goody has lost his mind. So he definitely disagrees. Chris in disagrees with the Sean Rhyan signing. Let's see here. So Turtle says this is a head scratcher. I agree. 2-0 for this says, well, this means Jenkins is gone. Yeah, I think it's got to, right? It's got to 2-0 for this. Yeah, I don't see any way that you keep Elton Jenkins now. I don't see any way that you keep Aaron Banks. If one of those two guys are gone, I think we would all agree, right? It's either going to be Elton or it's going to be Aaron Banks. My guess is it would be Elton over Aaron Banks because they don't want to give up on. That's a bad look on Goody if he signs a guy to a big contract like that and just cuts bait after 1 year. So, yeah. 2-0 for this says, at least he doesn't need to worry about money to feed the orphans. Good salad and fresh chips. Some people are going, what are you talking about? This is what we're talking about right here, boys, right here. Don't you ever walk up to this man and say, I hate all the orphans in the whole world. Don't you ever say that, all right? And we got Nacho Libre under contract, 3 years, $33 million. I'm trying to make sense of it, guys. That's a lot of money, man. That is a lot of cheddar. A lot of cheddar. Let me get a couple more, and then we're going to fall back and hit the super chats. I don't even know if they're on topic, but we'll hit those. I just want to make sure we give this its respectful due in terms of times on the pod. Let's see what else everybody's saying here. Christian says, no way, Clay. Packer Doug says, nope, they were talking about Tom as being the center of the future. Nope. Now, Packer Doug, I love you, but you say that very definitively, right? If you say, I think they were, okay, cool. There's no one that's confirmed who they were talking about. That's why it's still a big mystery, right? But I kind of felt like it was either Elton or Tom. I agree with you there. And then some people said, what if it's Jacob Monk? I don't think it's Jacob Monk now, right? Especially with this money you just gave our boy Sean Rhyan. Ron Sample says, Rhyan stays healthy just so long as he can play all year. He may come around. I love the optimism, Ron. Love it, man. Tony Canadeo says, not that Tony Canadeo, he's our Tony Canadeo, says, I love Sean Rhyan. I had a feeling he would be the guy still young and rising. So he's optimistic. Look at it. We got some optimism in here, man. PJB holding $11 million for Rhyan. This league is going crazy. Well, there goes the optimism out the window, right? Kyle Andretti said, I think they were Clayton, or maybe it was Zach Tom. Could have been, man. Could have been. Soder says they overspent. I agree, Soder. I think this is wholly overspend here for sure, man. 2-0 for this says, for the life of me, I will never understand what the coaching is doing with the O-line. Brian Balaga said we're crazy. 2-0 for this. He said it's more about the players' lack of talent. Well, here, okay, let's troubleshoot this, right? I immediately pointed the finger at Coach Buck. It's like, hey, man, all these offensive linemen are underperforming other than Zach Tom, right? So I'm kind of putting it on the coaching staff. Brian Balaga, former offensive lineman for the Packers, what did he say? What did he do? He said, hey, guys, watching the tape, the O-line's getting all they can, or the coaches are getting all they can out of these players. That would make you think, okay, you got the wrong players. Then you turn right around, bang, you re-sign Sean Rhyan to a 3-year, $33 million deal with upwards of $39 million. Okay, then you're telling me Goody's doing a bad job. All these things, you know what I'm saying? Somebody got to be the boogeyman. We talk about it all the time. Somebody's got to be the boogeyman here, man. So, yeah. All right. Let's fall back, hit a couple super chats here. I want to do due diligence here. King Tron with the super, thank you so much. No depth in free agency, focused on other positions in the draft. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, if you're asking, should you focus on other positions outside of just the top needs? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's just we only have so much time to cover it on the pod, Tron, right? You can't hit every single position and, hey, here's a couple gems on down the road. We got to try to keep up with what's actually breaking and whatnot. Knucklehead Paul with the super, thank you so much, buddy. He says, he is a dog when it comes to run blocking. We need more dogs. Hey, you know what, Paul, you make a great point, man. What was the weak spot of this offensive line last year? It was run blocking. What does Sean Rhyan do well? He run blocks. That's a great point. Maybe this is this is their way of trying to shore up that weak spot, right? Trying to make it a little bit better. That makes sense. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Greatly appreciate you, man. Anything else in here? Just want to see if there's anything else. Coach Lynn coming in here smacking us with reality. I don't even want to read it, Coach, but boy, you're spot on with this one, man. Linderbaum was never in the cards. It sure feels like it. Boy, it sure feels like it, Coach. And, it's hard for me to defend Goody spending all that money on Aaron Banks, but not being willing to spend the money on Tyler Linderbaum. That's just a tough look, guys. I really think there's a chance this year, man, that Goody's his seat gets a little hot. Now, he just signed an extension too, so we're kind of stuck with him for a few years. The Packers aren't the type of organization that pays a coach or a general manager a huge contract and then just cuts bait because we got all this money to waste, right? But man, this is I don't know. It's interesting, man. Watch Sean Rhyan go out there, and I hope this is the case. Watch him go out there and have an all-pro season. That would be absolutely awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. I'm not betting my farm on it. You know what I'm saying? King Tron with the super chat says, no, I just meant with the Ryan news. Gotcha. Okay. Got it, buddy. Thank you for clearing that up, man. Appreciate you, Tron. You're the man. Let's see here. 2-0 for this says Sean Rhyan versus Jalen Carter in camp will be fun. So everybody's still hoping that we get Carter, right? That's what everybody's holding out hope for. I don't know, man. That's a lot of money, right? I mean, you're talking about tying up on average $11 million per with the cap, which let's kind of talk about what his cap hit will probably be somewhere in the $7 million range, something like that, because he was a free agent. There's not that 1 year blended in type thing. Maybe they tack on some voidable years. I don't know. But Clint C says, "What's the Bears go after Leonard?" Hey, they went after Drew Dahlman last year when we wanted to go after him, right? And boy, oh boy, did it make a huge difference. So I wouldn't rule it out, Clint. I wouldn't rule it out at all, man. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see, man. Let's see here. Kyle Andretti said, now Green Bay focuses on defensive tackle and cornerback in the draft. Completely agree with that, man. Completely agree with that, Kyle. I think that is where things are going to shift. And they're not going to come out. The front office is not going to come out and say, well, we plan on playing Sean Rhyan at center. We won't find that out till on down the road, right? You know how they kind of keep things close to the vest in that regard. But yeah, this is a really, really interesting development. Maybe I'm wrong. Did anybody post about this, guys? Did you guys see anybody over the last week or two saying, I think Sean Ryan's going to get a $10 million plus per year deal? Did anybody say that? Because I just don't. I don't think this is on anybody's radar here. Chris N says 11 to 13 million for Sean Rhyan versus 20 million for Linderbaum. Ugh, yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that. Again, though, Chris, let's pump the brakes, man. You know, let's pump the brakes. Let's all pump the brakes. Let's try to find the positive in it. And let's see if this pans out, man. You know, the problem is if it doesn't pan out, boy, oh boy, I hate to think how the season's going if this completely falls flat, right? But I'll tell you this, man, the coaching staff and definitely Brian Gutekunst, and I'm assuming the coaching staff, they all agree Sean Ryan's the dude. You know, he's the guy. The problem is they also thought Aaron Banks was the guy, and that didn't work out too good last year, right? Let's see your Packer fan 1418 says, I think this fills up a need before the draft. Keep everyone guessing on who we draft. That might be a little bit of smoke and mirrors there. I could see that, right? And 2-0 for this finding the positive. There you go. That's what I needed. Better than trading a fifth for Bradbury. Amen. Amen. I do think Sean Ryan's a better center than Bradbury. So, yeah. All right, guys, if you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, man. How do you feel about this breaking news segment? How do you feel about Sean Rhyan signing that's a pretty big extension, man. As Tom Pelissero said, Ryan becomes one of the NFL's highest paid centers after 9 career starts at the position. You can tell where Tom Pelissero thinks about it, but let us know in the comments how you feel about it. Are you optimistic that Ryan's the guy? Do you think this is a swing and a miss by Goody? How do you feel about the whole situation? And obviously, we'll bring you details on the contract when they are available. But let us know in the comments. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, click the bell icon. We would greatly appreciate that. All right, so there you go, guys. The room is spinning. Luckily, the Sheps are up here just napping. Mandy threw a wrench in the whole damn show, so we're going to wrap it up right here. She literally popped around the corner with the dogs, and I was like, what are you doing? Why are you up here? Hey, I'm leaving. Bye. Okay, cool. Take the dogs with you. What are we doing? So they're being good. But, yeah, this was a fun episode, man. I'm glad we got through. We didn't get dizzy and fall out of the chair or anything from the vertigo or whatever the heck I got going on right now. But, yeah. This was fun to kind of dive into everything. What we covered, what's the plan at linebacker? Zaire Franklin's the short-term answer. Do we go somewhere in the draft or free agency? We also hit the edge market a little bit. Do we think Gary's actually gone? I feel good about LVN. I don't know about you guys. I feel really good about LVN in that regard. I think he'll step right into that role just fine. You don't have to go and overpay or overdraft. Although I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah earlier this morning, said that, man, this is a good draft for edge defenders. So there's a lot of great edge defenders in this draft. So maybe the depth is really, really solid there when you get outside of the first round. So maybe they do go, grab one, right? So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. We're going to reset. We'll probably be back live a little bit later if any other news breaks. But thank you guys in the chat for bringing it to my attention that Sean Rhyan signed this extension. Usually I've got co-hosts where I can kind of comb through and make sure nothing broke in real time. Let me take one last glance, though, and just make sure there's no other Equity Sports just tweeted it out, and they said, congratulations, Sean Rhyan, on signing a 3-year extension with the Packers. No, there's no mention of guaranteed money, guys. Oh, here we go. Tom's got it. Tom Silverstein's got it. There we go. He said, can confirm through a source that the Packers are signing Sean Rhyan to a 3-year, $33 million contract, including $11 million signing bonus, and they're signing him to be their starting center. There you go. It raises the likelihood the Packers will cut Elgton Jenkins. So, Packers starting center, that number there, right? First year cap hit, probably going to be somewhere between $7 to $9 million unless they front load it. $11 million signing bonus. Guys, this is a 3-year deal that's really a one-year $11 million deal is what it is. Okay. So you can get out of it after 1 year with minimal damage in that regard. Now, here's the other thing. If you're moving on from Elgton Jenkins, which Silverstein just said it's most likely going to happen, you're going to save $20 million in cap space when you move on from Elgton Jenkins. Okay. Now your starting center is only going to be eating up about $7 to $8 million in cap. So that's going to be a net gain of about $8 million. The biggest thing is, like we said, you're not going to have Tyler Linderbaum, right? So, yeah. The signing bonus makes me feel a lot better about this situation. So that's good news there. But, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. We're going to reset. We'll be back here in a little bit. I'm going to go take some medicine, some nausea medicine, see if we can kick this thing. Thank y'all for being patient with me today, man. I know I can't keep up with the chat. Everything's very blurry, dizzy. It's a really odd feeling. But I appreciate y'all being patient. I also want to say thanks to all the super chats there. King Tron, thank you so much for yours, buddy. And Knucklehead Paul, you guys are awesome. Greatly appreciate that. The best way to support what we do here at PTA is go and check out our community over at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. Also, wherever you get your podcast, just search Packers Total Access. Do me a big favor on the way out. Smash that like button for me. I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Y'all have a great day. We will be live again when news breaks. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Thank y'all for joining us. And we will see you soon. Go, Pack, go.
Here we go.
We're out.
Bye, guys.